Welcome to our Climate Wisdom Studio, live from Baku in Azerbaijan. We bring together experts from science, spirituality and politics to explore new solutions for the unfolding climate crisis. I'm Golo Pilz and I will be tonight's moderator, and we will talk on sustainable future, a very interesting topic. This is virtually the last day of the climate conference, and frustration over the lack of progress is seeping out of the negotiation rooms. The main controversy are still the finances. How much the developed nations are going to pay for the transition to clean energy and for the damage of climate change. The numbers mentioned are staggering, ranging from 200 billion US dollar up to 900 billion US dollar. Is unbelievable amounts. The talks on phasing out fossil fuel are also going very slow, as it seems some of the oil-producing nations are grouping together and sort of watering down the negotiation process. However, it is too late to come to a conclusion, as the conference definitely will go into overtime, and probably Saturday and Sunday and maybe even Monday, the delegates have to sit, the negotiators have to sit and come to an agreement. So we'll have to see the final outcome. I'm very glad to have two experts with me tonight who hopefully can shed some light on these rather complicated topics. I have with me Mohamed Bahr. Welcome. You are the curator of the Faith Pavilion here at COP29, and you are a strategist and seasoned advisor, board member, and a faith and environmental advocate. You worked for 2 decades as a management consultant and later began working for foundations, philanthropists, and NGOs. Welcome, Mohamed.
Thank you for having me.
I'm also very happy to have Sister Jayanti Kriplani with me. You are the additional administrative head of the Brahma Kumaris, a spiritual organization with more than 5,000 meditation centers in India and 1,000 abroad. The Brahma Kumaris is accredited since 2009 with the United Nations Climate Conference and has been since then to all climate conferences. Welcome, Sister Jayanti.
Thank you.
It brings me to my first question, Mohamed. You are the curator of the Faith Pavilion and have been most of the time inside the COP at the pavilion itself. And you might have organized probably 100 programs or
Yes.
something around that. No? And really my congratulations for all the good work being done
Thank
there.
you.
And can you summarize for our audience your impressions from these 2 weeks? And also let us know if the pavilion was able to recalibrate the moral compass of the delegates, and if faith finally gets more impact into the whole process.
Thank you. It's a very important question. Before going into my reflection, I would like to thank Brahma Kumaris team and for all of their support. And of course, our sisters, they've been very helpful and running a lot of programs in our pavilion. And I would like to give my appreciation to Brahma Kumaris and to all the participant organizations. The impressions from the past 2 weeks, it has been a deeply rewarding experience to witness all the global convene in the Faith Pavilion for climate action. I think we started the Faith Pavilion in COP28 in Dubai, but we had our first Faith Pavilion ever, and it was a historic moment. And also we had our dedicated building that shows how faith is united. But this year was completely different. So as you know, like in Expo, it was kind of a building structure, and here in COP29, it was a kind of exhibition structure. So you are actually with the people, and the people come to you. Hundreds of people come every minute, and they attend and enjoy the sessions. And I think last year that most of the organizations showcase their work, but this year I would say we encouraged the organizations so they can to work in collaboration to design the program. And it was very, very successful. And I think the next year, I would envision that we will have a lot of collaboration efforts that already has been undertaken by the organizations. So we move from faith in each other and we give faith and hope to the people so we can move to the climate action. And actually, like this year with the pavilion, it was full of spirit. It was a different success.
Very nice.
Some people, they told me that they actually want to call it the Hug Pavilion. And people really enjoyed the time, enjoyed the discussions, and a lot of feedback from people that they come and they tell me this place is different. And some people come seek our prayers for them before to go to the negotiations. It was very touching experience this year. And I think the pavilion successfully brought attention to the ethical and moral dimensions of climate action, and many delegations reflected on their roles, not only as a policymaker, but as a stewards of creation. I have met with a lot of delegations that they come, they get inspired, and sometimes they bring into their delegations a faith leader. And also some people come and ask for guidance and what do you think is ethical? What is the morals? And we get a lot of questions. And I think our faith leaders attending COP, like our sister, like, they answer them and they give them hope and they give them affirmation.
Fantastic. That's a fantastic result. I saw also the pavilion last year, and that was a bit isolated. It was a separate building, and this year you were in the middle of the whole exhibition, the Blue Zone, and whenever I came there were throngs of people and something was going on. That's fantastic result. That it was successful, and people that were touched by the heart, and could recharge also the battery, because the conference can be also quite draining, and there's quite a lot of information overload. Thanks very much for this positive description and this positive remark on the Faith Pavilion. Sister Jayanti, I know the Brahma Kumaris is one of the major institutional users of renewable energies, and recently an innovative biogas plant with waste segregation and also a novel solar cooking system with induction cookers has been commissioned in Mount Abu at the headquarters of the Brahma Kumaris. You also have introduced green guidelines to your centers, and you plant trees all over the world. So you do all the right things as an organization, or many of the right things as an organization. But in your heart, you also understand that's only one side of the medal. There is technology and there is the outside activity, but that's not enough. It has to be supported by a change of hearts and minds. And in order to create a real sustainable future, please share with us how you change your hearts and your minds to create inside the sustainable future.
I'd like to begin by saying Om Shanti, a greeting of peace to all our listeners and viewers. And it means Om, I am, Shanti means peace. So I hope that even as you hear the sound of Om Shanti, you're beginning to feel peaceful inside. Actions come at the end of a long process. And before the action, there's the reflection, the deep thought about it, there's the awareness. And so what we're saying is start with that. Rather than look at the end, start at the beginning, when the mind is just beginning to reflect. And what we suggest is when you go inside and you look at your thoughts and you ask yourself, where will I find peace? Then probably the answer is not by going shopping or even by going to the seaside or to the mountains. You realize that peace is something inside of you. And if you allow yourself that moment of reflection in which you go deeper and deeper, and you discover that space within which is filled with peace, you also realize that happiness is there, that joy is there. And so you begin to ask, well, is buying a new car going to make me happy? Is it buying new clothes that's going to make me happy? Well, we've been doing that and trying that, but I don't think that the degree of happiness has been rising in the world. Rather, I see that there's depression and fear and many, many illnesses that are related to stress and so forth. So it's telling me that all the things we've been doing out there have a place, but it's not enough for human fulfillment and satisfaction. And you have to go inside to be able to experience that. And so I would suggest that if we take a moment of quiet time to see what's going on in our hearts, our heart begins to tell us that instead of going in the right direction, we've been going in the opposite direction, further and further away from our sense of fulfillment. And so when I understand this and I start finding the happiness within, it's very easy to change my lifestyle, to come back to a simpler life of living. Gandhi said, there's enough for everyone's needs, but for no one's greed. There'll never be enough. And so what is my contribution to the planet? Can I simplify my needs so that at least there's 1.0001% difference? But of course, if I start doing things and find fulfillment, others around me see that and they also want to do the same. So it's a ripple effect that grows. And so yes, I see that by going on that inner journey and looking at our mindset, our awareness, our perception, we can definitely make plans for a sustainable future.
Wonderful. I heard once that the developing countries, they should not do the mistakes of the developed world and think everybody should have a car, everybody should have the same gadgetry, because the planet would collapse, and so the West has to acknowledge and has to reduce also. It's connected also to climate justice, actually, in a very thorough way.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for shedding light on that point. Mohamed, all religions and faith organizations are going green now. Vatican has published the Laudatio Si. Brahma Kumaris is also going green since many, many years. And I was at the Cool Pavilion at a session about buildings of faith and how they can, and the number of 40 million temples was mentioned, which are 40 million churches and temples and mosques around the world exist. And it's a huge amount of properties and buildings. And if they can develop and run in an environmentally friendly manner, it would have a huge impact. So 80% or more than 80% of human population are connected to faith-based organization, and there is millions of houses of worships and temples. How can religions unite and overcome the difference to use the full potential? Because if these numbers are staggering, 80%, millions of buildings of the world, how we unite and use our full potential to turn the tide and bring a sustainable future. Do you please share your thoughts?
I acknowledge in the beginning, like the faith reach, like it's really was over 84% of the world following a religion or a faith, and unparalleled influence and trust in the communities, and the faith communities are always the first responders to crisis.
It's like a sleeping giant right now.
Yeah. And I think, as you mentioned, there is 1 million of houses of worship that can be transformed, not into green, but also can be transformed into hubs for education, advocacy, and sustainable practices. And you can have I would say, a center of excellence in every city. And you transfer and replicate this through the faith. And this is part of the Faith Pavilion. The strategy is actually to listen to how the faith communities around the world, everyone is convening at COP. We had 97 faith-based organizations convening at the Faith Pavilion this year. So they all share their stories, they all share their pains, and they learn from each other. And the platform becomes very powerful. And I think focusing on the shared values such as stewardship and justice and compassion across all faiths, I think we can create an interfaith alliance that foster collaboration And I think that the Faith Pavilion next year will witness these kind of collaborations between the faith-based organizations, and so we can use this platform at COP to amplify a unified message, hope, but also to amplify action for our faith-based communities.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's an incredible power. 85% of the world population. It's like I just had this picture of a giant who's sleeping. And if he starts moving, nothing can stop him. Faith, such a power. Thanks very much for sharing your thoughts, Sister Jayanti. From a yogi's perspective, the most powerful force in the universe is God, the Supreme Being. It is said that God knows what's going on, so he must be aware about the climate crisis also. And he's also the healer. And it is said that he can even help us dealing with our personal karma, with the sins of the past. And it seems humanity has a lot of bad karma right now because we have so many problems at hand. Wherever you look, I just read the news before I came and I just looked, I had an overview and I just said it, put it aside and I said, okay. Because it was just like literally only bad news, environment, war, this, that, everywhere it's going on. Please share with us how this connection with God and this intimate prayer, let's say, can become an instrument to bring hope and transformation for the self, but also then for the society.
It's like the sunshine. When the sun comes onto the seeds in the soil, then something stirs within the seed, and whatever is there latent begins to germinate and blossoms. And being in that relationship with the divine, in which I'm connecting with the Creator, means that I'm allowing God's light to shine on me, so that the goodness that is there latent within the soul begins to emerge and be expressed. Mohammed, you mentioned shared values. I believe in that very deeply. All human beings have values which are absolutely identical. You mentioned some of them. There's a very, very long list that we can mention, but I want to mention respect and love especially, because when we experience God's love, then that allows us to value ourselves and be able to experience respect for ourselves. And I think that if respect comes into the world again, respect for human life, we've forgotten that human life is sacred. We think nothing about things that are happening anymore because it's like it's been too much and we've got saturated with it so that we're not responding with any loving feeling or empathy anymore. It's like we become paralyzed. And so it's time to allow God's love to reach us through silence, through prayer, whatever tradition it is one is following. But that will then allow us to become human again. It's as if we become machines, robots, not responding to the needs of the other. And if we can really follow our faith tradition and allow that time for ourselves, then what we'll find that the quality of interaction between humans together becomes very different, and we find a different world. So I believe deeply that faith has the most important role to play, and it's the power of God's love that can finish the account of whatever it is we've done in the past, whatever mistakes we've made. And it's absolutely true that the crises today, climate change is of course the major one, but there's many, many other related issues. And all of these have happened because we didn't allow God's light to touch us. And so we forgot ourselves and we were not able to relate to each other in the right way.
Thanks very much for sharing. When you said God is like the sun, I was reminding today's sunshine here, which totally transformed the atmosphere. And 3 days ago it was raining and cold, and it was like horrible to go outside. So I immediately thought about the sun, and I thought, oh, how wonderful it was when the sun shines. You go there, you sit in the warmness, you bath in the sun and so on. And you made this analogy that God is light and God is like the sun. It's very nice, yeah. Maybe more God conscious at the COP will help the process.
Yes, and actually what the sister Jayanti said resonate with me and with a lot of visitors to the pavilion. Like I heard some ideas that the people would love to launch like a love campaign, love for the environment and
Very
love for
nice.
each other. I think it's very important in the times of conflict and crisis that we love and care about each other and care about nature.
We will see magic happen at the COP also. This brings me to the last question, Mohamed. Our topic today is sustainable future. And the COP is virtually ending today. And for sure, the negotiators will have to spend some extra time. But we already know that whatever deal they agree, it will be a weak one. It will be a compromise, literally. And the future of the planet hangs in a very thin thread. Is this the great unresolvable crisis? And do we have help? Do we have to seek help from above? And what role God plays in this whole drama which is unfolding in this emergency? Please share your thoughts.
I think, like as you mentioned, the current crisis, the failure to achieve decisive outcome at this COP is really highlighting the human limitations of politics and negotiations. As you mentioned, like the planet future does indeed hang by a thin thread, and time is running out to act.
Yeah, it's COP29 now, no?
Yeah. So I think like faith reminds us of humility in the face of creation's vastness and the need for accountability to a higher power. Believe in divine guidance and inspire hope and resilience for us and for communities, especially when human solutions flatter. I think faith traditions and wisdom provide the frameworks for ethical action, ongoing responsibility and gratitude and care for creation. We always need the help from the higher power, and we always need the help from God. And it's also like with the help, or when at the time of crisis and emergency, everyone goes to God and praise them and worship them more. Also, like this is also a test from God to us. Like the higher power is God can do anything he wants, but he just leaving us to decide and work together and find a solution and negotiate and goes into conflict so he can test us as well. So we have to balance between, because if God will, everything will be fixed, it will be fixed, but it's also up to us. So I think like we have to come up with a call to action, and we have to unify the humanity so we can save Mother Earth, and we have to act and unite so we can save this planet for generations to come, as God willing.
All right. That was very interesting when you said that we have on one side the free will and one side it is also fixed. It resonates a bit what we say in the Brahma Kumaris, that basically you have a free will, but once you take that particular action, then it is also fixed in the drama. You have sort of imprinted that action, you know, and then you have to live with it. So thanks very much for sharing. And these are great inspirations for the climate conference and great inspirations also for the world. And time is slowly ticking, and this brings me to a meditation of Sister Jayanti. Can you take us on a journey towards a sustainable future?
Thank you. It's beautiful hearing these comments about the power of faith. And yes, definitely faith uniting the whole of humanity is the future, I believe. So connecting with the higher being, the light that shines, the creator, of the whole of creation, I draw on that purity, the light, the might of the divine to be able to find stillness and contentment within myself. I learn to respect myself, and then when I look out at my human family, I see them with eyes of respect, and animosity is dissolved. Relationships begin to form on the basis of that respect. And together, we then know how to protect all forms of life, giving them respect and regard. Each species has its own specific role to play. We also look at Mother Nature with appreciation for the abundance that nature has provided, and with great respect. And when we learn to do this, we move towards a truly safe environment, a planet which is absolutely sustainable. Om Shanti.
Thanks very much, Sister Jayanti, for taking us on the journey to a sustainable future. And thanks also, Mohamed, for coming and sharing your insights from the climate, from the Faith Pavilion. They have been very encouraging. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks also to our patrons and sponsors and all our volunteers behind the camera who made this session possible. This is the second last live session from Baku, from Azerbaijan, so it's very special for us. For more information on all our various live sessions, please visit our webpage, echo.brahmakumaris.org/live. You will find all 22 live transmissions there with very, very inspirational and informative topics around climate change and information from the climate conference in Baku. Please stay with us. We are showing a video after this session and show another very interesting part number 2 for Sustainable Future, another very interesting session. And thanks very much to our audience to stay with us, and we all hope you have been inspired and you understand now a bit more in detail about climate change, about inner resilience, and about transformation. Thanks very much and goodbye.